It is highly likely that Putin underestimated the comedian turned President Zelensky when he attacked Ukraine, and he wouldn't have had he known about Zelensky's soul mission. However, Putin's soul is happy with Zelensky because he is forcing him, he's challenging him to step out of his comfort zone. In this video, I will show you all about the fated encounter between these two souls. Hi, my name is Edith, and I'm the Astrology Empress and author of the book Soul Mission, the secret code in your horoscope that leads you to a fulfilling and rewarding life. So let's start out by taking a look at Volodymyr Zelensky's horoscope, the president of Ukraine. Now, we can see from his chart that he didn't start out living his soul mission. He started out living as a comedian, which is more his ascendant sign. So the way he goes out into the world is that of being a comedian. But he felt his soul mission call to him. And his soul mission is actually in the 7th house of bringing harmony, of letting other people shine, of the peacemaker. And it is in Capricorn, which is the sign of the leader, the sign of taking the unbeaten path, the sign of the father figure. So these are all parts of his soul mission, and he actually listened to his soul mission when he ran for president of Ukraine. And it is no wonder with his chart that he became the president. Like I said, he's living his soul mission, and that's what his people recognized in him. This is a man, even it's subconsciously they recognize in him. This is a man who could really be the father of our nation, who can lead us. This is the man who can lead us as a front runner, as paving the way for us, but also who can lead us in a spiritual way. And I don't necessarily mean spiritual in the sense of religious, but spiritual in the sense of that he can, he can unite this country. And that's also part of his soul mission, to bring people together, to bring harmony, to bring different groups together. But also his sun in the 9th house will make him an inspiring leader. So he can inspire people to, as he is doing now, he's inspiring people to love their country, to fight for their country, to make a sacrifice for their country. And that is what he's doing. He's living his soul mission. And what we can see also from his soul mission is that his point of longing is in the 9th house as well. So, and is in Aquarius. So he longs for equality. He longs for justice. He longs for freedom. And this is also what is driving him. So the point of longing is always what is driving a person. And what we can also see from his chart is that his point of challenge is in the 5th house in Libra. So it is also a challenge for him to bring peace. So maybe when he grew up, and especially from the energy that he brought into his life, his comfort zone is really that of being a fighter, and so he feels really comfortable fighting, which is currently for him a good position to be in. However, his point of challenge is that to be a peacemaker, because his point of challenge is in Libra, which is, similar to his soul mission of being a peacekeeper, but this does not come naturally to him. So it is something that he's now challenged, and I will show you later that Putin is challenging him to step out of his comfort zone of fighting and go into his point of challenge, to accept this, to embrace this challenge of being a peacemaker, of bringing people together, and not just the people in his nation, but the wider aspect, because the leader of a nation, by extension, speaks for his nation. So his soul mission also being in the sign of Leo, which is the king. So it's really, he really has to step up to, and so it's very funny to see that his soul mission and his point of challenge are both in signs of being a leader and of signs of peacekeeping. So his soul mission does not come easily to him, and he is asked by Putin, he's asked to step up as a leader, to take his role, to be the authority, and to be the peacemaker. Now, let's take a look at Putin's chart, because Putin's soul mission is in the 8th house in Gemini. And that tells me his soul mission is all about, it's all about power, actually. It's all about using his power to transform the world. And in a way, Zelensky knows his soul mission, and Putin also knows his soul mission. You know, they might not know it consciously, but they have this inner calling, and you can see this in both men. Regardless of how it plays out, I'm talking here on a soul level, where the soul mission really is for Putin. It is to use his power to transform the world. And in Gemini, so the way he does this is by communication, by selling, even by but also by connecting people, by going from one place to the other and bringing them together, bringing information together. And so it's a lot to do about knowledge, about information that he brings out into the world. And you know, if I were to look at this soul mission aspect separately, I would tell him, write a book to change the world. So you know, or you know, be in media, communicate, because your insights, your unique insights, because he has his soul mission makes sure that he has tremendous insight into people, how people work, but also, you know, deeper insight. He almost has knowledge of the occult, and if he uses that in a positive way and uses that with his talent for communication, he would totally be able to write a self-help book for people to help transform themselves and to transform the world. Now, what we see with Putin, he's got his sun in the 11th house. So his essence as a being, what his soul wanted to do in this world, is also to serve the community, which is similar to Zelensky's sun, which is in Aquarius, which is also very idealistic. So they're both idealistic. They're both, from a soul urge, willing to serve the larger community, or at least their own community. And then Putin's sun is in the sign of Libra, the sign of the peacemaker. So it is in Putin's soul and in his heart to make peace. Now, why does he go about it in a way that involves attack, in a way that involves, you know, attacking another nation? And so for me, attacking, you know, an act of war is something that somebody who's not connected to their soul, somebody who's not connected to their heart, somebody who's not connected to love will commit. But you can tell why people are driven. And for Putin, he is actually driven. So his point of longing is Pluto, right on his MC. And that tells me, so he is driven by, first of all, his need to be accepted, his need to be, you know, to be seen as, you know, the man in power. He has a need for power. He has an inner need for power. And so he's driven by that instead of driven by love. And this need for power for him is all about, you know, going into the outside world and setting his mark on the world. And he wants to be recognized for the changes and the transformation he makes to the world. And this is what is driving him. Now, his point of, or his comfort zone is actually on the very same spot. So his comfort zone is all about being in the public eye, being the leader, being powerful, being the king. It's also in Leo here. And you might remember that Zelensky, and we'll see that when we connect the two horoscopes, but you might remember that Zelensky's point of challenge was in Leo, and Putin's comfort zone is in Leo, and his point of challenge is in exactly the opposite side, which it always is. So the point of challenge, actually, let me explain that. The comfort zone, obviously, the comfort zone is where you feel safe, where where you've got experience, you just know you've got that. That's under control, under your belt, you know this. But the point of challenge is a challenge that our soul brings into this world. It's something that our soul wants to experience, but it's not a done deal that you will experience this. So it's like a way for the point of challenge is like the path of growth for your soul. And it's always on the opposite side of your comfort zone. Now, the point of challenge for Putin is in Aquarius. So it is also, the point of challenge for him is also to be idealistic, to serve his country. So also, it's a discrepancy with his sun in the 11th house. So it makes his sun more difficult. But it is also right in his personal home and safety part of his chart. So his challenge is to bring safety. His challenge is to nourish. His challenge is to care. His challenge is to comfort. His challenge is to make a home for himself, and by extension, make a home and comfort and nurture his country and his people. Now, let's see how these two people, act on each other, how they influence each other. And we do this by bringing together their horoscopes. Now, in this inner ring, you will find the birth chart of Putin. In the outer ring, you will find the birth chart of Zelensky. And you can see straight away that there's there's two really faded things, like they were meant for each other. And this is actually why Putin's soul loves Zelensky. And Putin's soul is so happy with Zelensky in his life. And it's the other way around as well. But it's actually Zelensky that has a more profound effect on Putin. So the first sign is that Zelensky's Pluto is directly on Putin's Sun and his Saturn, which tells me that from the moment they start interacting together, Zelensky is going to have a profound effect on Putin, and he will have a profound transformational effect on Putin. Sorry, Pluto and Putin. Sorry that I mixed them up. So Zelensky is here, and this is why Putin's soul is actually happy with this, because the soul wants transformation, the soul wants growth, the soul wants to get out of their comfort zone and into their point of challenge. And Zelensky actually has a very he intuitively knows what Putin is about and who Putin is. So he knows exactly how to deal with, or he probably doesn't know, but unconsciously, subconsciously, he knows. So his intuition will guide him, into the peace, which is where they're both supposed to be going, and what is on a bigger picture is what they're supposed to bring to both their nations is peace. So Zelensky has this intuitive insight into Putin, and will know what to say, what not to say. Either way, it's the fact that their sun and Saturn and Pluto are embracing each other so tightly tells me that this is one big power play, and they are both fighting for power here. So, and this was like really fated, this had to happen, and Putin have not been able to choose a more worthy opponent of him. And so what happens, to Zelensky from Putin's side? So Putin's sun is, all of a sudden giving all this light onto Zelensky's point of power, actually. So he is forcing and to his point of challenge. So Putin's son is forcing Zelensky to step up, to be that leader, to be the king in his kingdom, and to be the authority, but also to do it to keep being playful about it, and this is also where Zelensky's comedian background comes in. He's really inspiring, but he's also challenged to keep it light, also towards Putin. But he's also challenged very much to be the peacekeeper, and like I said, to be the authority and the power. Where most people have, find it difficult to really embrace their own power. But sometimes life or other people just challenge you, and you almost have no choice. I mean, Zelensky certainly had a choice. I mean, he could just, say, okay, I'm not doing this, I'm fleeing my country or whatever. But he was challenged to stand up and be that leader and take his power. And he did. So he really does embrace his soul mission right now and his point of challenge right now. Now, the second part that shows me these two men are fated to be together on this world stage is that their IC and their MC are opposites. And this also, so if Sun and Pluto conjunction doesn't tell you they are enemies of each other, then the IC and the MC being opposite shows you that. So on a soul level, obviously they are not enemies on a on the human basic unconscious level, where the human wants to fight out their unconscious needs and drives. They are enemies, but either way, their souls have are going into different directions, actually. And this is emphasized by the fact that that Zelensky's MC is right on Putin's point of challenge. So where Putin, challenges Zelensky to step up to their point of challenge, it's also Zelensky that challenges Putin to step up and to embrace his point of challenge. But like we said, so Putin's point of challenge is to bring peace and really to focus on his homeland, to focus on nurturing, on safety, on bringing safety to the world, but also on his own safety and nurturing himself and loving himself. And that is actually what he's challenged to do. And he's challenged to be idealistic and to be that peacemaker that he can be. And on the opposite spectrum, Putin's point of longing and his MC are directly on Zelensky's IC, which means he is challenged, and on his moon, by the way, which means he is definitely challenging Zelensky's safety, Zelensky's, where he feels at home. So he's directly challenging and overpowering Zelensky's home, and by extension Zelensky's country. So he is a definite threat to Zelensky's safety. So this is how these two men play on each other. Now, something really important is going to happen on 4th and 5th April, because Saturn and Mars are going to conjunct in Aquarius, and this will powerfully impact both Zelensky and Putin's chart. And it is an explosive situation that Saturn and Mars come together. But in times of war, this could be an even more explosive situation. And the fact that this makes aspects to both their natal charts. I'm not going to elaborate about this. I'm going to talk to you more about this in my next video. So please be sure to watch. And, if you like my videos and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button, and, also click the little bell so you can be notified when I send out a new video. Let me know in the comments how you feel, and like this video if you've appreciated me. Thank you very much. Have a sourceful day.